We'll talk about Katie's 5th ejection in a second, but first, Pacers, Kings, and check out the block by Victor Oladipo.
Willie Cauley-Stein. I mean, you ain't heard that name in a long time. This is a bad way to end up on the highlights.
Nah, man, when they drafted Willie Cauley-Stein, they thought he'd be on the other end of a lot of those. Supposed to be a defensive force, guard all 5 positions. Said Victor Oladipo says, nah.
Bulls and Heat, not many bright spots for the Bulls except for David Nwaba.
Man.
Finishes with a nice spin move and dunk.
Nice. No dime there, Jenna. Just a spin and a finish,
right?
Boom. Taking people's money the way we do it.
But a good, important loss for Chicago at the end of this game. Good for them.
Finally, same game. Bam! On the alley-oop from Dwayne Wade. Heat won this one. Look at that. Look at that.
That's not her commentary. That happens to be his name.
I mean, look at how high he is, man.
Instagram.
His head, like his forehead's above the rim.
He's having a good rookie year.
He's having a good rookie year. A guy that didn't have as much hype coming out of Kentucky as Willie Cauley-Stein.
Dwayne Wade's having a lot of fun there. I noticed in the highlight, Dwayne Wade, he's a little slimmer in his face.
Why do you think?
I think Gabrielle Union's kind of changed up his diet or something.
That's probably it.
I think he's eating more fish or seafood down there in Miami.
He's happy in Miami.
Happy.
He seems to be.
Moving on to Kevin Durant.
He cut his hair, too. That little thing he was trying to do, that little young, little puffy thing. Was
his return to the floor from a rib injury lasted only
Dusty,
17 minutes last night. He was ejected right before halftime in a loss to the Bucks. Apparently, he said multiple no-no words to the refs, and the refs said, no, Kevin, you are out. It was the 5th time he's been ejected this season. That's 7 losses in 10 games for the Warriors. Nick, what is your reaction to Kevin Durant's NBA-leading 5th ejection?
That this is totally unprecedented. For a player of his caliber to act like this repeatedly. Like, just show America. Why don't you check out what the NBA's leader in ejections are by a team-by-team standpoint?
Don't forget our friends in Trinidad.
America, our friends in Trinidad, Chris's friends in Toronto. Show us the graphic, if we could, about, okay, so the Suns have 7. They had that big fight with Jared Dudley involved, Marquez Chris. So they had a few guys ejected. The Raptors at 6. There's Kevin Durant with 5.
Himself.
Him by alone. The rest of the Warriors with 5. Draymond's got 3 of those. And then no other team has 5. And then the rest would be a bunch of teams tied at 4.
Now, from a history standpoint, when was the last time we've seen a player ejected this much? Because we've seen some guys ejected in the NBA through the years.
Our data only goes back to 1992. Since 1992, the only player ever ejected more in a season than Kevin Durant this year was Rasheed Wallace, who was famous for being a hothead.
But he was an enforcer, though, too.
He was an enforcer.
Kevin Durant is not
while
an enforcer.
Rasheed Wallace was an excellent player, he was never an MVP candidate. He was never in the argument for best player in the world. And what is going on with Kevin Durant is so baffling to me. The repeated self-inflicted wounds that he has done to himself post-NBA Finals, post-championship, telling Chris Broussard, that wasn't the real me in OKC. This is the real me. Going on Bill Simmons' podcast, scoffing at the people who miss the MVP speech, Kevin Durant, doing a 2.5-hour podcast where he goes hard at the people that cover the team regularly, where the local beat writers or the what he called blog boys, where the people that do stats-based analysis, goes hard at anyone that does this job, saying watch the games, as if there's a lot of things that I don't do in my life that I should do. None of them are not watch sports, not watch basketball. And repeatedly, what he said this week in this long-form 2.5-hour interview is, I'm happy. I wish people understood I'm happy. I wish people would just appreciate me playing basketball. CC, the only hurdle to simply appreciating Kevin Durant as a basketball player is Kevin Durant. We didn't ask him to create fake Twitter accounts. We didn't ask him to come out with the shoes. We certainly never anticipated he would lead the NBA in ejections on a near or non-Rasheed Wallace record pace. We've never seen a player this good act this poorly throughout a season, and I can't explain it.
And if we just took Kevin on his words, he was on Bill Simmons' podcast yesterday talking about just watch the game. But we stayed up to watch the game. Man, the people that came to the arena, they came to watch Kevin Durant play. And what did they get? They got gypped because this new Kevin Durant, like, we don't know if he's going to get ejected. Like, it doesn't make sense for the player like him or any player that I would say is in the top 10 players in the NBA. People spend their hard-earned money. This is beyond basketball. We are there to see a product. We saw the uproar last year with fans being upset because coaches and organizations were sitting players. So now we're going to have players just being thrown out of games? Like, Kevin Durant needs to realize what's going on. Right now, the NBA has traction like I've never seen as far as overall popularity, the number of eyeballs that are on the NBA day after day, the great stories that are coming out the NBA. His teammates right now, Clay out, Steph out, Draymond just coming back. This is not a game that you want to get thrown out. You got a responsibility to the fans, to the organization, but also to your teammates. And the irony to it is, okay, you get thrown out. By the way, Giannis was giving it to him, too, at halftime. Giannis has 17 points. Giannis had only missed 3 shots. Giannis was forearming him in his rib cage that he had missed a bunch of games with because the scouting report said he had some cartilage in his ribs. He had some problems. Giannis was there to play. One day, Giannis is going to be the best player in the world. This is not a game you get thrown out of over a foul, non-call foul with the referee, cussing out the referee. So for me, I'm disappointed because he doesn't understand the magnitude of his decisions and where he is and the overall responsibility. Kay said he's the best player in the world. Well, there's some responsibility that goes with that, Kate.
He does understand a little bit. He's just not self-aware right now because he's able to go on and wax poetic for 2 hours a night about the state of people's perception of who he is and how he plays and what his role is and how people don't understand. And if they just watch basketball, then everyone would be happy. And then in the same breath, he could tell our Chris Broussard that this is the real him, not the guy that we all love, not the true fan favorite, but this guy that gets kicked out, that's nasty, that's a little rude, that's got fake Twitter accounts.
Listen, he has no obligation to be the guy in the MVP speech, by the way.
But don't whine about it.
Well, and even the whining about it doesn't even bother me.
No.
I know you're not into it, but I don't begrudge anyone from living their truth. And you can be whomever you want to be. What I do begrudge you is all of a sudden, when you're trying to win a championship, Iguodala, what happened to him?
End up getting hurt in the third quarter.
Right, because he had to step up.
I do.
All them extra minutes he's got to put on his body after having one of the worst seasons of his career.
Listen, and Kevin Durant wants people to watch basketball. I don't know that it's possible to watch more basketball than I do. I don't know that it's possible to care more about a league than I do the NBA, even though I obviously never played in it. I have no connection to it other than I just love it. And it bothers me as a fan that one of the faces of the league continues to conduct himself like he's some enforcer off the bench. He's not.
All right, we've got to take a break now. Coming up, we'll go back and talk some football. Can Dak bring the Cowboys back to the playoffs in year 3? Next on First Things First.
I'm out of here. Oh, I got to work.